and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan, and it's time for the return of Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid for Gameweek 13. Now, the international break is almost finally over, guys, so very excited to get stuck back in. If you do enjoy this one, make sure you do drop a like before you go anywhere, and do subscribe if you are new around here. Let's have a look at the rules of the video. Okay, so buys are players you probably don't have but should consider bringing in. Sells are players you probably have but should consider removing. Keeps are players you might be thinking about removing, but I think you should keep them. And avoids are players that are pretty hyped up right now, but I think they are potential traps that should be avoided. Let's cast our minds all the way back to Game Week 12 to see what the immediate results were from the buy, sell, keep, avoid selections from that video. Okay, so I'm not going to lie to you guys. It wasn't a great week in buy, sell, keep, avoid history. The buys in general didn't do too well. Johnston, Gabriel, and Nketiah all blanking. I wish I could have changed my mind on Nketiah. I feel like I did maybe correct that in later videos in the week because I wasn't so keen on him later on. But Bowen worked out at least. I guess that's a good thing there. Ward-Prowse as a sell obviously didn't work out. But at least the Haaland keep was there because he did very well in that last game week, didn't he? 16 points for him, so very, very nice. In general, the avoids were pretty good with Doku getting 0 points. So I was pretty proud of going against the grain on that one because he was the most popular transfer in FPL at the time of recording, and we said don't buy him, and he got 0 points. So I feel like a small victory there, but Jackson did manage to get some FPL points, so yeah. Let's see how we can improve upon that in this game week, because yeah, game week 12 just didn't work out for buy, sell, keep, avoid, but we'll try again as we always do. All right, so our buys, first of all, I'm going to put Johnston in for our goalkeeper buy, and I think this is probably the last week we'll put Johnston in the buy section as a goalkeeper, just because the fixtures do start to get a little bit worse after the next 3. This is probably your last hopping on point for Johnston. After that, you've probably left it too late to bring him in, to be honest, as the fixtures do get a little more sour. But we've got Luton Town next, which is obviously a nice opportunity for Crystal Palace to try and get a clean sheet there. So let's see what they can do. They're definitely a possibility. Crystal Palace do have a knack of getting clean sheets, don't they? And we've got Saliba this week as our buy for our defender. In general, I think defenders are really, really tricky this week. Really, really difficult to figure out which kind of defender you're going to want to bring into your FPL team. There's not really a lot of defenders I like. Arsenal are one of the few exceptions. I do like the Arsenal defense. I like Saliba. Really, really gives you that guaranteed minutes, nailed onness, which is very, very nice. It's going to be helpful, particularly over a busy fixture period. You could go for Gabriel if you want to go a little bit cheaper there. I think Gabriel is definitely very good for his price if you can't afford Saliba, but I don't think I'd go anywhere outside of that. Zinchenko is not really for me because Zinchenko, I don't think is totally nailed on, and we will see him getting rotated here and there. But Saliba, yeah, just a really good pick. Arsenal putting up the best defensive numbers in the Premier League still. So, yeah, Saliba, if you want a defender, he's probably like one of the few players I would consider going for this week. Aside from that, I wouldn't really be thinking about making a defensive transfer. They're all kind of rubbish in a way. So, yeah, let's move on. For attacking buys, Bowen is going to be at my buy for the midfielder. And, yeah, this does depend on his fitness. Right now, if I had to speculate, I would say that Bowen is going to be fit and is going to be available. And if he is, I still think that he is going to be the best midfielder to buy outside of, you know, your Salahs and your Sons. You know, out of the slightly cheaper players, Bowen would be the guy to go for. So I would make an effort to get him, particularly against Burnley. If Bowen is available for this Burnley game, it could be really, really good, really, really nice. And there's some nice fixtures after that as well, which I think Bowen can continue to capitalise on. So that's going to be very nice for him. Bowen, you know, he's just a very sharp player. He always looks like he has the ability to score whenever he's in and around the box. And West Ham are putting up good attacking numbers in general. So really like Bowen. Still think he is one of the best FPL picks to go for right now. That's 7.7 million. I think that's still good value for money. And in terms of forwards, Isak is the player that is really standing out to me at the moment. I know a lot of people want to go for like a cheaper forward right now. I'm not really massively feeling the cheaper forwards at the moment, but Isak is a player who I'm so tempted by. Now, we've got news that Wilson is going to be out for potentially 6 weeks or more. So basically, between now and the entire busy Christmas period of fixtures, Isak's going to be the only available forward. And we know that whenever Isak plays, he puts up incredible numbers. You know, he is a player who puts up better numbers than the likes of Erling Haaland per 90 minutes. So he genuinely could be the best pick in the entire game of FPL in the good fixtures, at least. He really could be that player as long as Wilson is unavailable and Isak is available. Now, he is hopefully going to be back for this game week, Isak. So I'm trying to figure out right now how I can get Isak into my own team. I think this could be one of the most crucial players to buy, and a player that not too many people are going to be thinking about because they are worried about the false flag on his name in the FPL app, because he's not unavailable. He is available. You know, he is fit, so he can play this week. And, yeah, I just back him against anyone. He's going to be on penalties as well with Wilson out. There's just so much to love about Isak right now. And he is a player that is going massively under the radar. And if I'm moving to a forward this week, it's Isak. Isak is the player I want to buy. You know, I probably wouldn't sell a Watkins. Probably wouldn't sell a Darwin, though I'd think about it. Any other forward other than Haaland, I would really consider selling for Isak. You know, Alvarez to Isak, I like that move, for example. So, yeah, Isak is a forward I love right now, and I really want to have in my team, and I think he's a great differential. So, yeah, come on. For sells, let's throw in Edison first in here. I think it's a good time to hop off Edison. 5.5 million is pretty expensive. He is rumoured to have a small injury, but we're not sure how severe that is. I actually think he probably will play against Liverpool, to be honest. But when I look at these next three fixtures against three of the best attacks, most inform attacks in the league outside of Man City, which is his own team, it makes a lot of sense. If you're going to sell him, now would be the point. 5.5 million is way too much for a goalkeeper at the moment as well. We know that the goalkeepers are just not getting FPL points this season, so it might be time to just give up on them, go cheap, and spend the money in other areas of your pitch. So if you are an Edison owner, whether he's available or not, I would still strongly consider selling him, particularly if it means you can free up some budget to reinvest in other areas of your team. I'm going to put Dan Burn in the sell section as well, pretty much because I don't really think you should sell any defenders other than defenders that are injured or, you know, suspended. I'm just really not feeling defender transfers this week at all. The only players I'm really interested in going for is like Saliba, maybe Gabriel. If you already have one of them already, then maybe you don't want to double up. Yeah, it's really difficult. So, yeah, sell Burn. Obviously, he's out for a very long time, so it's a pretty easy transfer to make. But in general, don't love defensive transfers this week, and I think they might be a waste of time. If you've got fit and available players who will be playing, they've probably got just as much chance of getting FPL points in Game Week 13 as anyone else. So don't give up on them, is what I would say, unless they're injured or suspended, like Burn. So, sells in terms of attacking players, it's about Brighton, really. I think it's time to give up on Brighton. Mitoma and Ferguson, I think both of these players are going to actually be unavailable for Game Week 13, so they're not even going to have an opportunity to play against Nottingham Forest. After that, Chelsea and Brentford back-to-back. Yeah, the fixtures don't get that much better after that. We've got the Burnley fixture, but around that, it's pretty rubbish. And we already know Brighton have loads of fixtures in a very tight period of time. There's injuries, there's rotation happening. Brighton are just not looking at their usual self, I guess, at the moment with all of these fixtures. They may have been found out a little bit under De Zerbi. So I just think it's time to maybe give up on Brighton entirely, unfortunately. They just don't really, you know, stand out to me as a good team to pick FPL players from anymore, which is a bit of a shame. We had a lot of hope for Brighton. Obviously, they've had some good fixtures recently. Things didn't really go to plan during those good fixtures. Maybe it's just time to just end it, just leave it. Brighton players, Mitoma, Ferguson, might not even be able to play. Very easy to sell, in my opinion. So remove these players. If you're selling Mitoma, and Mbumo would be the first player I would go for, but I will also consider Cole Palmer or maybe Jared Bowen if you can afford to go for him. Ferguson, like I say, don't really like too many of the cheap forwards, so maybe you can upgrade there. If not, go crazy. Solanke, Awoniyi, whatever you fancy at that cheap price range for forwards is going to work for you. Okay, I would say that Onana is going to be a keep. He's actually making a lot of saves recently, which is kind of, I've kind of missed this a little bit. I didn't really realize how many saves he was making, which means he's actually been picking up a couple of FPL points, even when the clean sheets haven't been there. But the clean sheets have been there a little bit for Manchester United. And you look at Everton, you look at Bournemouth, maybe even Newcastle and Chelsea. And Manchester United aren't scoring a lot of goals, but they're not conceding a lot of goals either. So actually, Onana, if you already have him, and by the way, on his injury, I think he's going to be absolutely fine as well. I would be looking to keep him. I think it could actually work out pretty well. So positive for Onana owners. If you've still stuck with him, you've still got him in your team, I would be happy and comfortable keeping him. I don't think it's worth transferring him out at all. And Ben White transferred out en masse. So many people removing him because they think he is injured. Here's the situation with Ben White, and I've spoken about this a little bit before in the videos and over the last couple of days, but basically Ben White, he missed last game because he was already carrying an injury that he was just playing through. So he missed that game against Burnley just to give him a rest. He has the international break to have that extended rest, extended period of time to get himself back up to 100%. And he's going to be straight back in for Game Week 13, which is against Brentford. Then we've got Wolves, then we've got Luton. these are really nice fixtures. And in general, Arsenal have really nice fixtures, and I think they're going to keep clean sheets. So if you already have Ben White, then you don't need a Saliba, you don't need a Gabriel, you don't need a new Arsenal defender. You've already got one right there waiting for you. So he's a little expensive. Would I buy him? Probably not. I would prefer to go for Saliba. But if you already have Ben White, why not just keep him? I think he's good to go. I would not be concerned about his minutes moving forward. I'm seeing a lot of people sell Son, which I think is absolutely crazy. Obviously, Aston Villa and Spurs play against each other this game week, and I think this could be one of the high-scoring games of the week. I think this could be a bit of a goal fest. I'm actually really, really excited for this game of football, and I think both of these players are outside picks for captaincy, particularly Son, who I know things didn't quite go to plan against Wolves, but that's one game. And I know a lot of people are pointing fingers saying, you know, Maddison was out of the team. Son is going to be terrible from here on. Well, I don't know if I necessarily believe that. I still think Son is a fantastic player. He's going to get opportunities. He's going to be on penalties as well, pretty much for certain at this point, which is going to be nice as well. So there's still going to be opportunities for Son. He's not done as an FPL asset yet. I definitely would not be giving up on him. And if you don't have Erling Haaland, I would say Son is probably your second best captain pick. I prefer Son to a Salah. I prefer Son to a Bowen for captaincy this game week. I think this is a really good opportunity. Two high lines facing up against each other. Runs in behind. This really suits a player like Son, and it really suits a player like Watkins as well, who I would definitely keep at least for the next two fixtures. So could be goals in this Spurs game. Bournemouth after that. Could be goals there again. Really actually quite like the idea of going for Watkins or having Watkins or keeping Watkins. Don't think Watkins is as much captaincy option as a player like Son, but still, look at Watkins' numbers. They are absolutely incredible. He's missed a few huge chances recently, which is a bit unfortunate, but all the signs are pointing towards a continuation of Watkins getting a lot of FPL returns. That's what he's been doing so far, and that's what he'll continue to do. So would I be selling Ollie Watkins right now? No way, no way. He would be a player I would absolutely love to keep, at least for the next 2 game weeks, and maybe even beyond that as well. Finally, avoids, and Alisson and Tsimikas are going to go in the avoid category straight away. So yeah, we're doing another double up in the avoid category, and the reason is because they play Man City away. If there is ever a time to not buy defensive players, it's when you're about to play Man City away. It is the hardest game week of the entire season for every team in the Premier League, other than Man City themselves. So really, really tough one here for Liverpool, particularly in defence. Now, this game is usually a game that produces goals, which is no good for our defenders. So I know a lot of people have seen Alisson and Tsimikas. They've got a lot of FPL points recently, and that's great. But with defensive players, we have to consider fixtures more so than form, in my opinion, and I don't see Liverpool keeping a clean sheet. So what is the best you're hoping from these players, really? We're looking at them getting a couple of points each. Alisson maybe get a couple of points at maximum just through save points. I just can't see these players keeping clean sheets and getting FPL points at all. I understand that people want Liverpool defensive players in their team right now. That is understandable, but wait until after this game week. You don't need these guys now. Even if you have them, you probably wouldn't want to play them. Like, I've seen a lot of people with Tsimikas in their team. They're not even starting him. He's always on the bench. Anyone who has Tsimikas right now is benching him. So it doesn't make sense to be buying him now just to then stick him straight away on the bench. Wait for more information, give it another game week, and then think about buying Tsimikas after that. For now, these players are avoids. And yeah, we're going to continue the trend of the same avoids as last game week, basically. I'm not keen on Doku or Jackson as FPL picks. I'm not keen on bringing them in this week in particular. Both players have tough, difficult fixtures. Both of them, I think, are going to be rotation risk as well. I can imagine that Doku doesn't even start against Liverpool. I can really see Foden and Grealish starting on either wing against Liverpool to maintain control of that game. So Doku, yeah, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, he got a load of points, but his underlying numbers, the fact he has been rotated and rested, and even when he does start, you know, he's being brought off before 60 minutes. He gets so many one-pointers, and I wouldn't let that one big score a couple of weeks ago distract you from that fact. Even if you look at his underlying numbers, he's got 1 goal and 5 assists. That's amazing, right? But he got that with 0.35 XG and 0.61 expected assists there. So a serious overperformance that is just not going to be sustainable even for the best players in world football. They don't even get close to sustaining this amount of overperformance. So it's just not going to happen at all. So yeah, Doku, not great underlying stats, super rotation risk, and a tough fixture up next. there's no reason to buy him whatsoever, in my opinion. Not feeling it. If you already have him, I guess you could keep him, but he would even be a player I'd consider selling, to be honest. Nicholas Jackson, yeah, we're going to have Nkunku back very soon, maybe even this game week, and that could mean that Jackson is the player sacrificed in that Chelsea team. Not exactly sure how that is going to line up yet. Different people have different opinions on how Chelsea are going to line up when Nkunku is back in that starting 11. So it's a bit of a mystery. I'm not going to speculate too much in this particular video. But what I would say is a away game against Newcastle, followed by a lot of rotation risk players. Maybe if you desperately want Jackson for whatever reason, it might be a case of just giving it one more week at least, just to see how you think Chelsea are going to line up, get the difficult fixture out the way, and then maybe think about it. But honestly, I don't think there's any real strong reason to go for Jackson at 6.8 million. Like, if you just spend a little bit more money, you can get Isak, and he's a player I would much prefer to go for right now. So yeah, Jackson is our final avoid of the video. Okay, so in summary, guys, like I sort of mentioned, not feeling the defender transfers this week. I know a lot of people are wanting to make defender transfers because their defenders aren't scoring many points, but the grass is always greener on the other side a lot of the time, and all you're going to be doing is moving from one defender that isn't getting many FPL points to another defender that isn't getting many FPL points. So I don't really think it's worth it, particularly in Game Week 13, where it is a tough week. A lot of the big teams are playing each other. You know, even Arsenal, with their great defence and great defenders, they play against Brentford. It's not exactly, you know, the perfect fixture, is it? So in many ways, defenders, I would just leave your defence how it is, unless you have those injuries and suspensions and you're forced to make a move. That would be the only exception to that, in my opinion. So yeah, focus those transfers on midfielders and forwards, and maybe even roll a transfer. I think this is a perfectly acceptable week to roll a transfer as well, and I'm very curious to see how many transfers and what kind of transfers will be made in tomorrow's 100 Experts video. So yeah, stay tuned for that one, guys. Wednesday is going to be 100 Experts day, and we're going to see if the expert picks line up with the buy, sell, keep, avoid picks. Often they do, but let's find out tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching, guys, today. If you did enjoy, drop a like, do subscribe if you are new around here. Fantasy Football Hub are actually running a Black Friday deal at the moment where you can get pretty much an entire month. I think it's 28 days free trial. You have full access to their site for 28 days. I don't think they've ever done this promotion before. We have so much time of free access to their tool, so make sure if you want to try it out, now is the time to do it, because you get your maximum amount of time on all of their tools. Don't forget to check out fanprints.uk as well if you want to buy fantasy football merch and gifts. A link is in the description for that as well. But aside from that, guys, thank you so much for watching. Once again, check out another video if you want to, and aside from that, I'll see you tomorrow for 100 Experts. See you later, mates. Bye bye.